Welcome to another episode of Market Money. This week we're going to be talking about the basics of stock market research using the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website, jamstockx.com. We'll be going through Mailpac in our weekly stock review. So we're going to look at the most recent results that were released by Mailpac for the quarter ending December 31st, 2023. And then we'll have an interview with Kenroy Carr, the CEO of Dolla Financial Services. They announced it was included in their audited financials yesterday that they'll be winding up operations in Guyana going into May 2025. So we'll be talking about that along with just doing a check-in. Dolla is a company that does their earnings calls with us each quarter. So we are quite familiar with them, but this I think is a good point to have a conversation with them coming out of the audited financials. So let's hear from Kenroy there, and let's just get into this week's episode. So we are sponsored today by the L.E.A.R.N Investing in the US Markets class. This class is next week, Saturday. So if you've not registered as yet, go to classes.learngrowinvestclub.com to register. We'll be covering how to invest in the US market from the Caribbean. And of course, the class is completely free. All you have to do is register, and we'll send you the link to join. We also invite you to join our community groups. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Telegram. Telegram is our most active community, but you're free to join us on any platform you feel comfortable and just, add to the conversation. All right, so as I said before, we're going to talk about three things today. We're going to go through the basics of stock market research using the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website. We're going to review Mailpac Group Limited, and then we'll have our interview with Kenroy. Everything that we discuss here is for education purposes only. Feel free to speak to your licensed financial advisor before you make any investment decisions. All right, so let's start with the basics of research. So usually when you think about the stock that you want to buy, you'll often hear a company name and you're not really sure where to go to get that information, those details about the company, right? So you may look at the company's website, you may look at their social media pages, and you will realize that there are some gaps, right? Not every company has all the details on their website. Not every company is active on social media. Trust me, I've checked. And so where you might not have looked before is the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website, which is actually the best source for information about companies that are listed. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the steps of finding information about listed companies. Now, the stock exchange's website is very vast, so we're only going to narrow our discussion here today about how to find information on companies that are listed. So you'd go to jamstockx.com. That's where you'd go. And then everything that I'm talking to you about from here is based on going to that main page. So if you scroll down to about the middle of the page, you'll see this section here that says Find Listed Companies. So you type in a company. In this case, we're using Mailpac because we're going to be reviewing them next. So you type in the company's name or their ticker, click on search, and it'll bring you to this page that's called Instrument Lookup, where you'll see if the company is listed or not, right? So you're seeing the search results saying that it has found something, Mailpac Group Limited is listed. It shows you the symbol, same as the ticker, the currency that security is trading in. The sector in this case is listed as other, but of course for certain categories, it may have the category name. It shows the market. In this case, it's listed on the junior market. And then the type of shares are ordinary shares, right? If you click on the link that says Mailpac Group Limited, it brings you to this page, which is the instrument summary page. And this is a page that we're going to spend the most time on here for the next few minutes. So I'll start to explain from the top left of the page. Of course, that's how we read. So first we start with the company name. So it's Mailpac Group Limited. The ticker is going to be in brackets here. That says Mailpac. What you'll usually have is the last traded price. In this case, it's $2.05. And what you're seeing in this red box here is the price change for the last trading day. So in this case, Mailpac went down by 8 cents today, and that would be equivalent to 3.76% that it has decreased by. And you see a note here that says prices are updated approximately 2:30 p.m. daily. It's not an exact time, but right around that time, you'll see it updated. And then below that, you have 3 ways in which you can view price history for each company. So we have a line chart. That's what you're seeing here. And each chart is broken down into 1 month, 3 months, 6 month, year to date. So in this case, if we selected year to date, it would show me from January 1st to today's date. You have 1 year, will show the last 12 months, and then all will give you the opportunity to scroll through as far back as the data allows. It's supposed to show you the entire history, but in my experience, it doesn't do that for every company. So next we have the candlestick chart, and then we have the OHLC chart. I'll go into those details into another video, but just understand that these are 3 types of charts that you can use to see price information for each company. What you're seeing here on the chart itself, you'll notice you see what's called CA. So that's an initial that represents a corporate action. Now it could be a dividend paid, it could be a stock split, it could be anything that's considered or qualifies to be a corporate action. And that's what you'll see here. And then to the right of this chart, you're seeing the price, and then below that you'll have the volume, right? So these columns that you're seeing here represent the volume traded for that day. And of course, it starts at 0 here, and then it goes up. So if you see, for example, unusual volume, then that's typically a reason to double click and see what might have happened on that day. And so usually when I go to this page, I'm looking for these days to see, what might have happened on that day, and maybe do a little bit more research from there. So on the right-hand side, you will see select stock, and that's where you can use this drop down to type in a search for all the other companies that are listed. Once you start typing the name, it will filter the drop down list, and you can simply click on that and go to that particular page for that security that is shown on the list. All right. Below that, we have the price information. So we have the previous closing price. So in this case, it would be yesterday's trading price or the last trading day's price. We have the open price. That's the price at which it opened the trading day for which it's currently showing. The bid would be the highest price for which somebody wants to buy shares. The ask is the lowest price for which somebody is selling shares. The volume traded would be the total volume for all of the transactions for the last trading day. And the last traded, of course, is the last trade, the price that the last trade took place. All right. I believe I explained that already. I believe what I could show here is just a little bit more detail in terms of the chart itself. And this is now zoomed into 1 year. So you see 1 year highlighted here, and we're able to see the months. So this is going back 1 full year based on the date that the graph was selected. And we went through this information before. This is a price information. I'm just zooming in here so that you can see it a little bit more clearly. And based on the fact that we just looked at that pricing information, I wanted to show a screenshot of the queue in JTrader. We have a video breaking down the queue on this channel. So if you search for how to buy and sell stocks with JTrader, you'll get the details as to how this works. I just wanted you to see a few things here. So we saw where we had the bid and ask price. So this is the buy queue. So these are all the orders for persons who want to buy shares in Mailpac. And this is the queue for all the persons who want to sell shares in Mailpac. So those 2 numbers that you saw, $2.12 and $2.14, that's the bid and the ask, and those are the prices that you see, right? So as I mentioned, the bid is going to be the highest price that somebody wants to spend for Mailpac shares. And in this case, this would be the lowest price that somebody's asking for to sell their shares, right? Then over this side, we're seeing a chart similar to what we would have seen on the instrument summary page, the same options in terms of zoom. And what we have here below is the price information, percentage change in terms of increase or decrease, dollar change in terms of showing that it decreased by 8 cents for today. And then below this, we have same information that would have gone through before. If you're in JTrader, you'd have the option to click buy. It'll bring you to the option to place an order, or if you go to sell, brings you to that place, so you can go ahead and buy or sell shares. So below, we're back to the instrument summary page now. If you look below that section that the chart is on the left, you'll see some more information relating to price and history of the stock, right? So we have today's range. So it says $2.02 to $2.15. So that's a range in which the shares traded today. We have the 52-week range. So in the last 12 months, it has traded from a price of $1.70 to $2.50. Next, we have the 52-week volume range. So the smallest trade in terms of volume was 75 units. The largest trade was 50 million units, right? We have the market value of those shares. So the last traded price, or the closing price for that day, multiplied by the shares outstanding, gives you the market value. So if you were to sell all the shares in Mailpac, it would be valued at $5.125 billion. And based on where the price is, this information to the right is showing you where it's at week to date, month to date, quarter to date, and year to date. And then over the right-hand side of that instrument summary screen, you'll see some categories of information relating to the company. So the summary screen is what you land on. Next, you can go to price history, and it will show an history of the trading price for that company. The latest news will show you all the news that the company has submitted to the JSE. It's not all the news relating to the company, just what has been submitted by the company. So you may still want to research, Google, check the newspapers, media, etc. for the latest or for the complete view of information relating to the company. We have quarterly financials. When companies submit their quarterly reports, it goes to that section when they submit their annual reports, and then of course their audited financials. So we have a couple more sections to go through, then we'll wrap up this section. So below that now you have performance broken down in terms of quarterly and annual, right? So I'm showing the quarterly earnings here. This is going to be the same information that you see in the quarterly reports in a graphical format. And what I've done is mouse over one of the quarters to show you the information that comes up. This should match what you see in the report, but of course if you don't see the information after the time period has passed, just check to see if you can go to the quarterly report section, and you should find the information there. And then that same information that was just in a graph is listed in a table so that you can see it, for those who prefer to look at the raw numbers. And then below that section, you have corporate actions. Again, this would be any stock splits, dividend announcement, or any relevant corporate action is listed in a table. Usually it shows maybe the last 3 to 5 transactions. So in this case, we're able to see the dividends paid from 2022 all the way to the most recent one earlier this year. And then below that section, you have latest news, and this would be, again, all the news that the company has submitted to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. All right, so hopefully you found some value in that section. We're gonna go through the stock review for Mailpac now. Just a few slides to go through to highlight the most recent financials for the company, and then we'll talk about their acquisition of MyCart Express and then where we think the company is headed. So Mailpac was listed on the stock exchange on December 19th, I believe, 2019. I might have gotten the exact date in December wrong, but it's shown in the report, so we'll be able to verify soon. But the company made available 300 million ordinary shares for their priority applications. I believe it's showing here, and up to 50 million ordinary shares. I'm just ensuring that I'm reading this right. So it says 300 million for the priority applications. Okay, this is an incomplete snippet. So they listed, they released their prospectus in 2019, because I believe, I think what I remember is 500 million shares, right? So this information may not be complete, but you're seeing just a snippet taken from the prospectus as to when they would have released it a few years ago. So Mailpac, as a company, they provide international and domestic courier services and mail order services, as well as online shopping of a variety of food, beverages, and other household supplies. So it's here, it's what you know in terms of shipping or courier services, and that's what they have listed as their core business. In terms of their Q4 results, that's what we're going to go through now. So what we see, our revenues increased by just 1% to 469 million. Operating expenses increased to 146 million by 16%. Profit before taxes and net profits actually declined by 37% and 39% respectively. Their net profits stand at 57 million for the quarter ending. And because they are a junior market company listed for under 5 years, they have a 100% tax remission, so they're not paying any corporate taxes from this. And so of course we have to watch to see how this progresses for the next 5 years, where they'll be paying 50%. Earnings per share fell by 50% to 2 cents, and their price, as at today, we went through that before, the last traded price would have been $2.05. At the time that I entered the information, it was $2.13. Next, we look at their balance sheet and cash flow. So their assets stand at 675 million. That's a decrease of 2%. Equity decreased by 3% due to their retained earnings decreasing. Liabilities improved by 2%. Cash flow from operations was positive, 293 million. However, still a decrease of 13%. Cash flow from investing activities went from negative 50 million to negative 13. So it grew, but still negative. So it's at, so that's why you're seeing the brackets there. And finally, cash flow from financing activities, which includes paying out of dividends, etc. We know Mailpac to be a dividend paying company. So of course, that would have increased by 34%. In terms of the trading information, we went through this in terms of the example, so I'm not going to go through it in detail here. And in terms of dividends paid for 2023, they paid a total of 11 cents in terms of a dividend payment. For this year, they would have announced a 3-cent dividend that was paid on March 11th earlier this year. So I wanted to just quickly go through the acquisition announcement. This was announced a month ago, February 13th. And I just wanted to highlight just a few paragraphs here and talk about what I think it means for the company. So if you missed the acquisition announcement, they would have acquired what it says here, the fastest growing and second largest courier company in Jamaica. That's MyCart Express. So it says the strategic transaction not only positioned the combined entity as the largest courier platform in the Caribbean, delivering over 1.5 million packages annually, but also merges the complementary management, service offerings, and geographic footprint for both entities to deliver superior growth to stakeholders, right? So they merge with the second largest in the space, and now they're able to deliver at projected over 1.5 million packages. What I think it means, of course, is you would have gone through their results, and for the year, they would have actually seen a decrease from 2022. I think what this means, of course, merging with their second largest in the space means we are at least expecting to see revenues increase. There was an announcement today that the acquisition is now finalized as at April 1st. So I'm expecting that maybe for their Q2 results, we should start seeing a combination of the revenue numbers for both companies. I just wanted to mention one more piece here. Well, no, you know what? Because we're actually planning to do a separate video about the partnership. So I'll actually skip that here and say what I think this means. So we know that the government would have announced an increase in the minimum in terms of what you can ship without paying custom fees from $50 to $100. And I saw them marketing that heavily, right? I've never seen the government market anything like that, apart from maybe the Trans Jamaica IPO and the Wigton IPO. So I'd say people are well aware of that fact right now. And of course, I wanted to just say that I think it will have, well, I'm curious to see the impact it will have, because firstly, I mean, people have to have disposable income to be able to order more. So even if there may be a spike short term, I guess the thinking is over time, people will be inclined to purchase more because they now have a larger limit with which to do so. I mean, I thought about it could very well mean that people just probably declare more items or something like that. But we're expecting that long term that will have a positive impact for companies like Mailpac. And I mentioned, of course, the merger will also bode well for them, I think, in terms of revenues. I'm thinking that we may see, well, we should see an increase in profitability, though we're not sure of the profitability of MyCart Express. So it's hard to say what that will look like. I do expect, well, I'm curious to see how the dividends will go in terms of whether or not that dividend will increase. I was going to say yield, but of course, yield is based on price. So I think that just based on where we are right now, what's happening with Mailpac in terms of that merger, what's happening with the government in terms of that custom threshold being increased, it should be interesting, at least for 2024. Mailpac should be interesting to watch. And so that's our review for this week. I wanted to just check the chat to see if there are any questions before we go to our interview. So Ingrid is asking, where can the data be found to that point to show there's, okay, so yeah. So Ingrid, you're thinking exactly like I'm thinking, right? So I'm not sure. I can ask. I can certainly ask. All right. So at this point, we're going to welcome Kenroy Carr. Kenroy, welcome. You're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. Hi, Jermaine. Good evening, sir. Good evening to your listeners and viewers. It's always a pleasure to be on your programs.
All right, awesome. Thank you for accepting my invite. When I saw the audited results yesterday, I thought I'd invite you on because I'm almost certain that every Dolla shareholder is asking about the Guyana operations, but we'll get there. I just wanted to ask you, how have things been for Q1? I know you may not be able to tell me much, but how has the year been for Dolla Financial? Let me ask it that way instead.
Let me just say it's very positive so far. Of course, at this point in time, I wouldn't be able to disclose too much in terms of the performance for Q1. We are obligated to inform our investors through the stock exchange before we are able to discuss those results, and we're actually working on the results for Q1 as we speak. So as soon as that information becomes available, then we will be able to comment more on those. But of course, at Dolla, we lend, so we have been lending. The brand is doing pretty well. Our subsidiary Ultra continues to do exceptionally well. So as soon as the results are out, then we'll be able to share some more information as it relates to Q1. You would have seen that we published our results for the audited results for 2023, which for the most part is consistent with relatively consistent with all that we would have published for Q4 unaudited. And you'd have seen where the profits, the loan portfolio, the return, the share, the return on the return would have remained the same as we would have published in the unaudited, and that is really a good thing. It shows consistency, and it shows that the figures that we report are actually very credible, ECL and all of those other aspects of the reporting that we do on a quarterly basis. So we're happy that we were able to publish the audited without much changes, and most importantly, we were able to do it on time.
Yes, I can just see Trevine's face now, right? It has to be on time and it has to be accurate, right?
And it has to be accurate, right?
Yes. And then, of course, as you mentioned, right? So you have been doing quarterly earnings calls since 2022. And of course, you also started recently doing the Mayberry Forum as well. So I'm sure persons, if they want to dig into some more information about how you did for Q1 2024, that would be the point to do it. And that's about a month away.
Right,
I imagine.
right.
So yeah,
That's
no
correct.
pressure, right? All right. So I wanted to talk to you about the highlight that I saw. So I started to go through the results. I mean, of course, would have been familiar with Q4, would have done the earnings call, etc. And then, of course, we started to see the conversation around the notice of the winding down. So talk to us about that. What went into that decision to wind down operations in Guyana?
All right, so the first part is that in our audited financials published 2 days ago, well, it would have been uploaded on the Jamaica Stock Exchange website 2 days ago. That have been a subsequent event which notes the strategic wind down of Dolla, and of course on the Jamaica Stock Exchange website, we would have published a notice today to inform our investors formally of our intention of our decision to strategically wind down. And the winding down of Guyana, it really signifies a strategic decision for us that is really aimed at mitigating the potential risk associated with what's happening in Guyana in terms of the geopolitical crisis. And we, by gradually ceasing operations in Guyana and relocating resources to Jamaica, which of course, by far, it produces a better return. We really aim to enhance our efficiency and to fulfill the commitment to shareholders, which is delivering value for them.
So, are you saying that everything is centered around the tension or the conflict that's been happening, based on what you just said?
That's a primary factor, and of course, having looked and done assessment on the events in Guyana based on the geopolitical tension with Venezuela, we having done that assessment and actually looking again at the overall what we can do by relocating those resources to Jamaica and the return that we can get from Jamaica, which far exceed those in Guyana, then that would have resulted in us making that final decision.
Okay. So I see Simon asking, what geopolitical risk specifically are you trying to mitigate against?
There are a lot of uncertainty surrounding the border dispute between Venezuela and Guyana at the current moment, and it does create a lot of economic uncertainty in Guyana itself. And again, just weighing that with all the other associated risk of the tension, whether it is access to funding, whether it is just the ease of doing business based on all of those development. The company thought it best to cease operation there strategically over time, and again to reallocate all of those resources here in Jamaica, where the demand is great for our service, and the return again is more than what we get in Ghana. So it's not we have been operating in Guyana since 2021. We would have had 2 full years of operation being 2022, 2023, and we have consistently produced good results in Guyana. We have been profitable, but at the end of the day, it's all about ensuring the viability, and we think that this decision is most prudent at this point in time.
So Kenroy, so what I'm hearing you saying, can let me know if I'm on the right track here. Is it that, and so you've mentioned that you've been there for the last 2 years. You've been trending in the right direction. Is it a matter of you saying, well, we're deploying these resources in Guyana, will ultimately make more in Jamaica. Let's shift those resources so we can maximize on it here, especially with the uncertainty that you have.
Especially with the uncertainty. That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So what is involved in our winding down process, right? So you mentioned a date of May 2025, I believe. What would you need to do? Is that time mainly just to ensure that all existing loans are going through their natural completion? Does that mean you're not going to issue any new loans? Like, talk to us about some of the details as to what the winding down process would look like.
So the winding down of the operation in Guyana, we expect that this will be done in a phased basis and should be completed. We're working to complete and close operations there on or before March 31st, which is the end of the first Q1 of 2025. And this timeline really allows for the runoff of the loans that we have currently in our portfolio, and to really ensure a smooth transition for employees, for customers, for partners. So we have time to wind down. The process is a phased approach. So right now we have ceased lending in Guyana, and the focus is more on really collecting what we have lent over the next several months.
Okay. So is it that, okay, well, so you answer the question I was going to ask, right? So if somebody in Guyana is interested in a loan now, is it that you don't lend to them at all, or do you direct to them, or do it through Jamaica?
All right. So right now we in Jamaica we don't do the cross-border lending. So right now if we have a customer who is interested, unfortunately, in Guyana, we wouldn't be able to fulfill that demand at this point in time.
Okay. So even if that loan is within the time that you're expecting to end.
That's correct, because it wouldn't, if you're winding down, Jermaine, it would make sense to still be disbursing, and you have an end date. So what you might find is that strategically, the date that you plan to exit, you might still have loans that would have passed that maturity date, and then we might have a little concern there. So the intention is really to have the runoff, the natural runoff, which at the moment it goes up to somewhere close to that time frame that we have set, that we should be able to recover the funds that we have lent fully.
Okay. So does that mean now for your regional expansion plans?
So while the decision to wind down operations in Guyana, it represents a shift in our earlier focus it appears to represent a shift, that is, in our earlier focus to expand regionally. It really doesn't distract from our expansion plans. I mean, right now, again, I've said it on the prior earning call, that our focus over the last several months and going into 2025 is really on fulfilling the demand in Jamaica and expanding our services in Jamaica in regions that we don't even have a physical location, but there's a demand for a product. So we continue to push and to fulfill those demands in Jamaica, while if there are opportunities that allows us to expand regionally, then that is something that we will still explore. But right now, the decision really reflects our strategic reallocation of resources to where we have a greater demand and where we have a potential to get a greater return for investors, and that's Jamaica at this point in time.
So based on those targets that I would have heard you mention in terms of your ambitious goals for 2024, do you think you can achieve that through Jamaica only?
Again, we're open to exploring other market opportunities, Jermaine. But if the demand that we have on a monthly and a quarterly basis, we of course would not have made a decision in February to wind down operation in Guyana. We didn't just do that in one day or 1 week or 1 month. This is something that we would have been assessing for quite some time, and we would have recrafted our budget and everything just to ensure that we're still able to meet those targets, which are very ambitious for 2024, and we will be able to do that without the contribution from Guyana. Again, pulling resources from Guyana, putting it in Jamaica should in fact give us a greater return on those funds.
Okay. All right. So I think we have some questions from the chat here. So let me get to them because I promised you this will be a short interview. So I want to keep my word.
I think my time is up. I'm just kidding. You can go ahead.
Craig is saying, wasn't Guyana a strategic move? It was one of the things touted by the former CEO. I believe he's speaking about Kadeem Mears. I believe you would have answered that already, Kenroy, but I don't know if you wanted to add anything further to it.
I'd say that as a company, you have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible, and when issues come up, then you have to make decisions that are best for the company at that point in time. So we would have gone to Guyana because it was a great opportunity, and again, it's a case where we have been consistently we have produced solid results in Guyana. So we're not leaving Guyana because we are making a loss or there's a concern about the company itself and ability to lend and meet the budgeted expectation from Guyana. It's just based on the developments that we have shifted focus at this point in time.
Okay. All right. Simon is asking, what's the level of non-performing loans in Guyana?
Guyana non-performing loan is somewhat consistent with what we have in Jamaica at this point in time. I think we would have up to December, we were probably sub 10% in Guyana, so that continues to be the case.
Okay. All right. So Craig is asking, is Dolla being closed out completely, or is there an entity seeking to buy you out in Guyana?
At this point in time, the decision taken is to wind down. However, we are exploring other means by which we can successfully exit without it having a negative impact on our overall results that we intend to deliver.
Okay, so if somebody comes or somebody's in Guyana or somebody wants to enter that market, you're willing to have at least have those discussions to see if it makes sense.
Definitely.
Okay. Simon is asking, which business segment is the Guyana resources being pushed to?
So that would be Ultra and Dolla Jamaica. I mean, there's a great demand for both both segments, whether it's the luxury lending or Dolla Jamaica. And I mean, when the funds are relocated to Jamaica, of course, through Treasury, we'll be able to make that allocation depending on where we see the need.
Okay. Philip says winding up the Guyana operation sounds like a great move. Focus on Jamaica, and if you expand I can't read the last word there, but Philip is saying great move. Craig is asking, is Dolla consolidating its assets in Jamaica to purchase a company in Jamaica? I think he's asking if you're making this move to ultimately maybe have some acquisition in Jamaica.
If that were the case, I would not be able to answer Craig at this point in time. Even if that were the case. So I guess Craig can just watch and see if there are any further developments where that is concerned.
Okay. Rob is saying great move to wind down the opportunities in Jamaica, so deploy the capital here. And then he says whenever Jamaica is exhausted, then you can look elsewhere.
Thanks for that advice.
Philip is asking, are there plans to leverage synergies with SVL's various microfinance arms?
That again is I mean, if anything, it's not something that I can comment on at this point in time. All entities, SVL, microfinance companies are separate from Dolla at this point in time. And if there is any further development, then of course the public will be aware of that, will be notified of such.
Okay. I know that it's something that persons have been waiting to say, especially with their current company structure.
Okay.
Simon is asking, is Dolla looking to secure loan books in Jamaica?
There are opportunities in the market for some amount of consolidation. I do believe that still exists, and it's something that we have a keen eye on. But at this point in time, I wouldn't be able to comment much on that either.
Okay. Craig is asking, what of your microcredit license? I believe that was already issued, right?
A long time ago, like about about a year and a half now. Would have been in compliance with that.
Okay. Rob is saying this move makes him more confident in the management team. So it seems Rob is happy. Okay, Simon is asking, how concentrated is the portfolio for Ultra?
So Ultra portfolio, there are established limits in our lending for both Dolla and its subsidiaries. So I can say that there isn't one industry that represents more than a third of the portfolio, but I do know that there are a lot of loans that goes towards the transportation, the construction industry. A lot of persons are seeking our support, seeking our services to kind of help kickstart some projects, or just to get that project, get that model unit, for example, completed, so that they can start collecting down payments and things like those. And all of those are coming on a short term basis. But I would say that the portfolio is well concentrated to ensure that the risks are minimized.
Okay. Ingrid is asking, what was the share of profit made from Guyana in comparison to that of Jamaica?
Guyana represents, the loan portfolio itself in Guyana represents about 5% of the portfolio, 5 to 7%. That has been the case for a while, because even operating in Guyana, while we have been doing well, we have one location, and it's really concentrated in Georgetown, Guyana. That's where we have targeted our lending, and the portfolio represents about 5%, and I believe that profit is somewhere consistent with the size, relative to the size of the portfolio.
Okay. Simon is asking, is there an embedded risk in Ultra model in monetizing collateral?
That Simon wants me to to share my company policy with him. Yeah, but there are the policies that we use. Again, they're really similar to that of Jamaica, and the focus really is on lending and building those relationships. So when we do accept the collateral, then the main aim is for the customer to repay, so we can release those collaterals.
Okay. Simon, you just said Michaela and a question mark. Can you, is that a complete question? Can you rephrase it, or let me know if it's an previous one that I had asked? I'll give you a minute to retype if you have to, because I think those are all our questions. So Kenra, I'll just ask you to, I know all the the questions were kind of centered around Guyana, but clearly persons are interested to know what would have went into the decision and how things are shaping up for you going forward. So I'll just ask you to kind of comment on what do you see as the way forward for Dolla Financial. I mean, you'd have spent months processing this decision. So now what would you say to your investors in terms of how they should look at things for the next few months or even years?
I believe, Jermaine, that the decision that was taken from the management, from the board level to wind down Guyana, it's not a light decision. This is a market again that we have been. We even had plans to expand in this market, and we kind of rolled back on those plans based on all of the development. And it's not an easy decision, but I do believe that we're confident that this decision is one that is in the best interest of the future growth of the company, and ensure that it's a decision that ensures that there's greater potential for returns for investors, and Jamaica is a market that is able to do that for us now. I believe that our investors are in a better position based on this decision that has been made. It's a tough decision, but it is one that was necessary to us based on all the developments.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that, Kenroy. I believe that we'll be hearing from you more at the earnings call. That's, as we said, it's about a month away. So anyone who's watching this replay, if you have any further questions, leave them in the comments below this video. If we're not able to answer your question now, you can do the same, and we'll just add it to our question pool for the earnings call. So Kenroy, anything else that you'd like to add before we close out this interview?
That's it for me, Jermaine. We have a call coming up, as you said, in another month, and on that call we'll be able to share highlights of our Q1 performance. But you can expect to see that consistent trajectory of growth that you have been seeing over the last several quarters. We're a team that is committed. It's not I'm on this interview, but it's not a Kenroy show. It's really a dedicated team at Dolla Financial that is just pushing to ensure that the company remains viable and the company continues to return a level of to produce returns at a level that is really great for our investors.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kenroy. Really appreciate the time. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Jermaine. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. I hope we got, I'm just seeing 2 more questions in the chat. Reconstruction of mindset. Was there extensive market research done? So Kenroy would have mentioned that they've been processing the decision for months now. So it implies that they would have, carefully deliberated the decision. So, but what I'll do, since this was not answered, I'll just note it for the earnings call. And TY was asking, how is your non-performing loan percentage calculated? I'm sure that's a question that we answered on our earnings call before. But again, I'll ask the team about it and probably just share it under the video. So TY and Reconstruction, I'll ask you to just post your question as a comment under this video on YouTube, and we'll just be sure that it's answered at the next earnings call. All right, so let's just do a recap of the episode. So I mentioned that would have started with a review on how to research stocks on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. We went through the Jam StockX site. We found the search box that you're able to type in the name of a company or the ticker, and it brings you to the instrument lookup, then the instrument summary of stocks. And then from there, we went through the different sections of that instrument summary page. Next, we looked briefly at Mailpac. Wasn't our usual full review, but that's because I wanted to ensure that we had time to ask Kenroy the questions that I know everybody wanted to ask him. And then, of course, you'd have just seen the interview with Kenroy. So thank you so much for joining this week's episode of Market Money. Before we close out, I have to say that this episode is sponsored by our Investing in the US Markets class. It is next weekend, so be sure to register for that class if you're interested in learning how to invest in the US markets. And then, of course, we are inviting you to join our community groups. We're on LinkedIn, Telegram, and Facebook. So be sure to join our community. We have conversations daily about the stock market, about how to invest, and it's all aimed to help you grow and get better as an investor. All right, so let me do a quick check again for questions. If I missed your question, I want to thank you also for helping us get to 10,000 subscribers. We actually got there today, so thank you so much for everyone who is subscribed. If you're watching and you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video. It helps us greatly. And I want to thank you so much for being a part of the Learn, Grow, Invest community.